Welcome everyone to another edition of the Mega Mirror Special. This week we are going to be taking a look at an awesome new creator who has dropped onto the scene with some fantastic content and a real no-nonsense approach. That's right folks, we are about to get a good healthy dose of common sense criticism. A creator who has a real talent for tearing down stupidity. So grab your drinks, get comfortable, and let's see how far a little common sense criticism can go when dealing with flerf stupidity when we come back. And we're back. For those of you just joining us, today we are featuring some amazing work by another awesome creator. But before we get into tonight's show, I would like to announce that this is the very first Mega Mirror on the new iNetwork. The iNetwork is the place to be to find all your favorite entertainment, information, and education content on YouTube, all in one convenient place. So please remember to like and subscribe to the iNetwork. And don't forget to hit the bell and select all to get notifications of all your favorite content. With the Mega Mirror Special making the move to this shiny new network, I think it's time for a major overhaul. So please stand by as we change things up a bit.
System shutting down. Initializing new environment. System restarting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's better. Now we're ready to move forward as part of the new iNetwork. A brand new look for a brand new home. And now, on with the show. Please join me in welcoming our fabulous guest for today, Common Sense Criticism. Hi John, thanks for joining me. I'm thrilled you could be here.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
I'm really excited to have you on the show. So let's get into things with my usual opening questions. How did you get started on YouTube, and what is your channel all about?
Man, I was a huge fan of the Non Sequitur show. And every time they had a flat earth debate, I would basically, follow along and just argue with it. And that made me really want to start my own YouTube channel so I could get my voice heard, so to speak. My channel isn't a hardcore science channel. I'm not a scientist or an engineer. So I'm kind of like Creaky Blinder says, I'm kind of a point and laugh channel. I just expose the stupidity for what it is. I do debunk, but I don't go in deep into it like Blue Marble Science does. But I just like to point out how disingenuous flat earthers are. I like to think that my channel is aimed towards the people who might be thinking about getting into flat earth. If you've only watched, one or two Mark Sargent videos or D Marble or any of the dummies videos, you may think that they're serious, but they're not. And when you've watched hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of their videos, you realize pretty quickly that they're all just disingenuous con men. They're either making money off of this or gaining notoriety off of this. And so I like to think my channel is basically just talking people off of that ledge where they don't know enough and, they may be conspiratorial minded anyway. And so, yeah, it's trying to keep people from making that leap.
That's great. In fact, I have to say that your channel is a very welcome addition to the community, and I'm sure there will be lots of great content coming as your channel grows. I thought it might be fun to have a look at the very first video that started things off for your channel. I was very impressed with the quality of the production and the way you presented the content. Let's have a look, shall we?
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is a new channel that's going to be focused mainly on debunking the flat earth nonsense and those people who peddle those lies to the gullible. I don't have a science degree. I'm not an engineer. I didn't take this in college. I took art. So I'm not coming from a position of vast experience. But that's why this channel's name is Common Sense Criticism. There's a huge emphasis on common sense. Because it doesn't take a PhD to debunk flat earth, because they refuse to understand the simplest of scientific principles. Let me say that again. They refuse to understand. And I mean that. Which leads me to believe flat earth is a troll. It's a joke. The people at the top know it. The people at the bottom are too stupid to figure it out. People like Mark Sargent, Nathan Thompson, Jeranism, they're not idiots. They just play one on YouTube. Over the last couple of decades, the flat earth movement has been on the rise, fueled by the ubiquity of the internet and more recently, the ability for anyone, such as myself, to record and share our views with everyone else on YouTube. This is a great thing, and I don't agree with some of the censorship that flat earthers have received on YouTube, nor do I agree with censoring anyone. Flat earth is a bad idea. A really, really bad idea. But bad ideas don't need to be silenced. They need to be corrected. And one thing all flat earthers agree on is that they're searching for the truth. Well, we're all searching for the truth, whether we know it or not. The funny thing about truth is that it's different for everyone. Some find truth in religion that others find laughable, and some find truth in politics that others vehemently disagree with. Truth is subjective. Unfortunately, for flat earthers, facts are not. This is a YouTuber by the name of Paul on the Plane, and he's going to take us into our first misunderstanding of science, that water does not curve.
Any body of water, from a puddle to a swimming pool to a lake, a sea, and behind me I am showing you the Pacific Ocean. Any body of water is going to find and maintain its level, always flat. There's no measurable curvature that can be found, no scientifically measurable curvature of a body of water, of a surface of the body of water.
Water doesn't curve. Well, Paul, there's curved water for you right there. Water always finds its level. Well, that's true. It always does. And on a somewhat unrelated side note, Egyptologists suspect that the Egyptians used water channels to find level when they were building the pyramids. I think that's pretty awesome. Anyway, the problem with your argument is that it always finds its level, so it can't possibly curve. As we've already shown, is that level on a sphere means perpendicular to the center of the sphere. Here's how you can understand it. Let's imagine that this is a sphere. Here's a level on that very edge of the sphere, right? Okay. Here's a level with a perpendicular line going straight down to the center of the sphere. Now you can move that level all around the sphere, and the perpendicular part will always go to the center of the sphere. This isn't that hard to understand. This is why I said they refuse to understand. Moving on. One of the biggest topics of confusion for flat earthers is gravity. Most flat earthers know that gravity wouldn't work on a flat plane, so they have to say that it doesn't exist. Well, something has to keep us fixed to the ground, so they say that it's buoyancy. Yeah, buoyancy. You know, there's an equation for buoyancy, and it basically says that if you weigh more than the liquid you displace, you sink. If not, you float. Here's the equation. Notice the G? I wonder what that is. So there's two problems with this thinking. One, you can't replace a force with a force that relies on the first force to work. That doesn't work. The second problem is that in a vacuum, there's nothing to displace. So the variable for the weight of the liquid you're displacing is 0. So the buoyancy would be 0. Yet something is still pulling you down at 9.8 meters per second per second. Coincidence? Moving on. The last thing I'm going to talk about is one that's unfalsifiable. That means it can't be proven right or wrong. It's just my opinion, but I feel that in a scientific conversation, it has to be brought up. And that is the Bible. In the Bible, there are some scriptures that say 4 corners of the earth. One in Genesis that mentions a firmament, and some that also mention pillars. Interestingly, the one in Genesis also says that the firmament means heaven, not a glass snow globe. So anyway, they've taken those scriptures and woven a conspiracy that the devil is making you think the earth is round so that you don't believe in the Bible. Let me go back a minute. I put the definitions of the Dunning-Kruger effect and solipsism at the beginning of this video because I feel they're the main psychological components to believing in flat earth. Not just the flat earth, but they're especially poignant here. First, Dunning-Kruger. If you know absolutely nothing about a subject, you're obviously going to be confused by it. And the confusion brought on by not understanding it means you are incredulous towards the specifics and those who tell you about them. Basically, the experts. So you don't know how it works. You just think you know how it doesn't work. Solipsism is the understanding that everything outside of your mind is also unfalsifiable. I don't know that you really exist. You could be a computer program for all I know. Everybody in my life could be. I'm getting sidetracked, but that's kind of simulation theory, which I'm sure I'll cover on this channel in the future. I don't know if the Bible is accurate. No one honestly does. If they tell you that they do, they're lying to you. However, my hunch is that a book written by people in the Bronze Age that didn't know where the sun went at night, and who told stories of talking snakes in bushes, and people being turned into pillars of salt, and miracles such as walking on water and parting seas, probably can't be relied on too heavily when it comes to science. I always say the Bible contains equal amount of science and pizza. 0. They say that the earth is flat and that we live in a snow globe because it makes them feel special. Literally, they'll tell you that. I'm paraphrasing, but they'll say if you believe that you're a speck on an average rock, orbiting an average star, one of 200 billion, in an average galaxy, one of hundreds of billions, in an infinitely vast universe, you don't feel like you're special. But if you believe that the creator of the universe made this beautiful planet for you to enjoy, and listens to your thoughts and watches you masturbate, you'll feel like you're special. Okay, that got kind of weird. Bottom line, the Dunning-Kruger effect makes flat earthers think they know more about science than they apparently do. While solipsism, mixed with paranoia, makes them think that there are conspiracies everywhere. Even when they're presented with evidence, they say it's fake. Flat earthers say everything is fake. Gravity, the moon and sun, the planets in our solar system, the stars, especially the universe. It's all fake. Show them an image of the planet? Fake. Show them equations and try to explain it to them? Fake. There is no winning when no matter how good your evidence is, it's always fake. That's pretty much the main reason that I believe that flat earth is a joke. They're not really searching for the truth because they're afraid of reality. If the earth isn't flat, and we don't live in a snow globe, what else is wrong with regards to their belief structure? Anyway, this has gone on long enough. If you have comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to my channel and please give the video a thumbs up. It really helps. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down twice, just to show your disdain. And until next time, have a great day.
That was a fantastic first video. Well written and very well presented. As a fellow creator, I know all too well the amount of time it takes to produce videos. Can you give us an idea of how long it takes you, on average, for videos on your channel?
Oh, thanks, man. You know, it just depends on the video that I'm covering. Some of them are really long. It seems like the flat earthers have kind of figured out that if they make 15-minute videos, it's easier for us debunkers to tear them to shreds. So they've switched to this 3-hour live stream format. So it just depends. You know, you have to whittle it down so that it's in a digestible size. Otherwise, you know, the audience is going to fall asleep. It also depends on how much I want to repeat myself. You know, I mean, how many times can you repeat that there's not gas pressure next to the vacuum of space, or the difference between gas pressure and atmospheric pressure? I don't know. The actual recording and voiceover and all that's and editing and stuff usually takes about 4 or 5 hours or so. I just started adding my face to it. So, you know, adding a camera to the whole process kind of throws a little wrench into the workflow, but it's not too bad. So I'd say 5 or 6 hours. It depends also on you know, the video that I'm covering, how much research I have to do to cover it. For instance, I did a video on Paul on the Plane where he was saying that the Apollo 11 moon landing was fake. And at one point he said, you know, with Buzz Aldrin working the camera that didn't have a screen on it, because it was an old 60s Hasselblad, that how would he know what settings to put it on and how the video was looking unless he asked Houston, which he never did. He never asked Houston. So I went to YouTube, and there's hours, probably, you know, I mean, the whole mission was like 200 hours long. So there's about that many hours on YouTube of them talking back and forth with Houston. And so I listened to a bunch of it, and probably 8 to 10 hours of it. And right before Neil descends the ladder to the moon, Buzz comes on the mic and says, "Hey, what settings do I put this camera at?" And they tell him. And it feels really good. You know, it really feels good when you hear a flat earth idiot say something just so demonstrably false that, I mean, it's just a lie. It's just a bald-faced lie. You know, I didn't have to listen to 8 hours of it. It was fascinating, so I did. But, you know, you can look up when they landed, and, you know, and you can look up the transcripts, too, and just read it. Yeah, it was awesome. It was really a good feeling to hear him say that when you hear Paul on the Plane just flat out lie to his viewers. So not all videos take that much research. Like I said, most of this stuff is just easy. It's the same stuff over and over and over again. You know, you can't have gas pressure without a container. There is no gravity. So, but some of them take a lot longer than others. I'd say on average 5 to 6 hours, probably total.
Well, let's have a look at another video from a very interesting series called Flat Earth Memes of the Week. Here's episode 2 of that series.
Flat Earth memes. Flat Earth memes. Flat Earth memes. Flat Earth memes. Flat Earth memes of the week. Welcome back to another episode of Flat Earth Memes of the Week. This week's episode is brought to you by our failing education systems from all around the globe and Texas Instruments with their new and improved calculator made specifically for YouTube University. It looks and feels just like the ones your poor, depressed, underpaid high school teachers handed out, only this version doesn't do math because math is lies from the devil. This version is specifically used to make silly words like
boobies
And that's not all it can do. You can also use it to type up your research papers, and if you have any questions, just ask Riley. He's an expert. This week, we're featuring a new format. I guess the evil corporate lying overlords from upstairs thought it was best to make the show more streamlined, and with the ever-growing popularity of blood sports, both in the Middle East and on pay-per-view, we're going to pit several different memes that try to make the same point against each other, Roman gladiator style, and you as an audience get to decide which meme survives and which memes die a bloody, glober, pathetic, lying, NASA shill death. Pay-per-view is not broadcast on satellites to your DirecTV or Dish Network receivers because satellites aren't real and the dish is fake and not really pointing to a satellite in geosynchronous orbit, and it's also giving you and your family cancer if you're vaccinated. This week, we're proving that space is fake! And you're an idiot if you think there's anything outside that beautiful glass dome that holds back the heavenly waters. So without any further delay, let's bring out our contestants. Contestant number 1. We're calling this one, It's Too Big! And she is a beaut. Can't prove stellar parallax, can't prove spinning motion, can't prove molten core, can't prove water sticks to a ball, can't prove curvature of the Earth, can't prove observable satellites, can't prove the center of gravity, and can't prove globe pics from space. So what exactly can you prove? According to the NASA shills, you can calculate stellar parallax, but you've got to use math, which is lies from the devil. So there certainly won't be any of that happening around here. Spinning motion can be found by going and talking to Professor Bob over at the Globebusters building. Although we've never seen it, we can assume the core of the Earth is molten lava based on the way seismic waves move and refract as they travel through the planet. Tennis balls don't generate a whole hell of a lot of gravity. Are you curious about that pesky curve, or maybe what's behind it? Go talk to Professor Jared over at the Globebusters building. And he's got pretty lasers. And while you're there, ask him about how satellites can be seen going in front of the moon. That's interesting. Confused about gravity? Go ask Sleeping Warrior to explain to you how his ripped-off buoyancy tube works. Oh yeah, gravity's in there. And just remember, globe pics from space can never be proven as long as you just keep saying they're fake. Boy, 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 she is a feisty one, and she's gonna be hard to beat. There's a whole lot of stupid wrapped up into that one, but hey, let's see what the next challenger has to offer. Meme number 2. We're calling this one, It's Fake. Quasars, meteorites, exoplanets, and supernovas, galaxies, dark matter, solar flares, and black holes. What do all these images have in common? They're fake. Here at YouTube University, we don't ask a whole lot from you, and we certainly don't expect you to think. But please remember, when the lizard overlords over at NASA release a picture and say that it's an artist's interpretation, that's just a nice way of showing us what things probably look like. It's not expected to be taken literally, like you do with the Bible, and they certainly don't prove that those things are fake. Not to mention, if you take a stick with a magnet out at the end, out into the desert, you can find your very own meteorites, and keep them. I'm sorry, Challenger, but I don't think you have what it takes to cut the mustard. But don't fret, your fate will be decided by the studio audience at the end of the episode. So let's move on. Meme number 3. We're calling this meme, Brrr. It's cold tonight. The claim that, it's really hard to read, but the claim is heat doesn't travel through the vacuum of space from the sun 93 million miles. Instead, what the light hits, it heats up.
Only problem with this is that means the dark side of the Earth should freeze over every night. Now, I understand we're not one of those Illuminati-run Ivy League schools that teach English and things, but please, when making memes, use complete sentences. Use all the words that convey what little thought you have to the reader. It makes it a lot easier to spread your stupidity far and wide. According to the NASA shills, the Earth's crust is warmed by the rays of the sun every day, even during winter. At night, the residual heat from that sunlight helps keep the Earth's crust a toasty somewhere above negative 60 degrees year-round. Unless, of course, you're talking about the Antarctic ice wall. But, of course, just like Area 51, the UN would shoot you with their attack boats before you even got there to take the temperature. I'm sorry, Challenger, but I don't think you have what it takes to convince even the dumbest flerf that the Earth is flat. But don't fret, like I said before, your fate will be determined by the studio audience at the end of the episode. Which is coming up now, so let's go! Alright, let's bring him out. Studio audience, it's up to you to determine which meme lives and which memes get cut down like Johnny Cash in Gladiator. And we have it. Man, that was fast. Our panel of judges, picked randomly from the studio audience, has deliberated for about 15 seconds and decided which memes go home defeated and which meme will stand victorious as the meme of the week. Let's find out what they decided. Oh, look at this. What a surprise. The winner is... Brrr! It's cold tonight! This meme came from the back of the pack and was created with the absolute least effort possible and still brought us all a Cinderella story for the history books that we can all be proud of. Well done. Well done. What's this? It looks like the panel of judges wrote us a note. It says, We don't care if it ain't wrote good. We don't read good, neither. Globetard. Yep. Join us next week for another edition of Memes of the Week!
That was awesome. What gave you the idea for that series?
Thanks, man. Really, it was basically just Facebook. I'm on a couple Flat Earth pages on Facebook, and they upload just the dumbest memes. And one day, I was trying to brainstorm over a way that I could make different types of videos for the channel and not just do the same monologue thing. And that day, one of the Flat Earth pages just dumped an entire crap load of memes, and they're just so bad. And I thought, there's a ton of content right there, just dumped right into my lap, So I did more brainstorming and decided to go with a kind of a cheesy, super, super low budget basement type show, kind of like Wayne's World, how they were doing their show in the basement, putting on public television, kind of like that. And, gave it a setting of YouTube University, since that's where most flat earthers get their science degrees. And, they're fun to make. They really are. They take a lot of extra editing. And that was kind of why I took a hiatus from making them. But that show's not over yet. It's really good. And now that I'm doing a camera, I might add some different ways to present it. So be on the lookout for that one. It's a lot of fun, and there's definitely going to be more of them. So
I really liked it, and I hope you do more of them. I also enjoyed one of your more recent videos in which you responded to the comments made by a troll known to many of us as Arkham's Asylum. Let's have a look at your responses.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. First let me say Merry Christmas, or Happy Hanukkah, or Happy Saturnalia, or Merry Yule, or Happy Kwanzaa, or whatever else there is to celebrate. If you celebrate it, happy that. Or just Happy Wednesday. So I'd like to welcome our new flerf members to the community. That's how you know you're starting to get somewhere, is when flerfs start crawling out of their holes to troll your comment section with the same derpy, regurgitated stuff they've heard flat earth priests repeat over and over. Guess I've got to be doing something, right? This video is dedicated to those newbies, the fresh fish, and the fobs. To those of you who found my channel through your normal means of disinformation and have come to bless us all with your hilarious comments about how gravity is just a theory and how you can't have gas pressure without a container, or how I'm lying to my audience. The irony of that last one is so juicy and tasty. So first up is Arkham Asylum. I'm assuming he was a Ditterha fan, since so far he's only commented on the videos where I corrected Ditterha's bullshit. His first comment really set the stage for a long and prosperous relationship, and gave me the feeling that he's got an open mind and will definitely engage in serious conversation. He says, "You are such a bullshit artist, LOL. GTF OOH. Well, thanks, Arkham. I actually am an artist. I've been sketching since I was a kid, and then moved on to charcoal after that, and then in college went for digital art like illustration and graphic design, so thanks for noticing, man." His next comment was an interesting one. He said, "Look at NASA's rocket, lol. Like a blimp / big balloon." Well, let's take a look at the link. The link takes us to an article on CNET talking about how NASA is testing one of their tanks. The video was posted to Twitter on Monday by NASA's administrator. He said the tank withstood more than 260% of expected flight loads before buckling and rupturing. You see, I'll be honest, man. I am no engineer of any sort. I'm not a rocket scientist. So when the people who are rocket scientists, and that have spent over a decade in school studying this stuff, and then their entire working careers after college working on this stuff, designing and developing and testing rockets, when they tell me that that's what they're showing me, I believe it. Not because I'm a NASA shill, but because I have no reason to not believe it. Look at the pictures. Look at the video. It looks like a big metal cylinder being blown out by pressure. Now, I don't know what kind of balloons or blimps you've been looking at, but I assure you, this is not one of those. There's another thing in this comment thread that he said that I figure I'll cover. Not that I really care what he thinks, or think that my normal audience has some overwhelming concern that I'm doing this, but just to clear the air, since he brought it up. He said you edited his video to not show his point, and that I should link to his original post out of fairness. Well, first off, man, I don't edit anything out that I don't have to. Unless the video is exceptionally long, I leave in as much of it as possible. Okay? Regardless of what you think, Flat Earth is ridiculous, and it's just completely stupid. Okay, it's comedy, right? Comedy gold. So me editing out parts of his video to lessen his point is in turn doing him a favor because it makes him look less stupid. And that's not a favor I'm willing to do for a flat earther. So like I said in the comment, man, I don't edit out things unless the video is over 30 minutes long. His point was not edited out. And if you have a concern about his video, go look him up. Look up DITRH on YouTube. Look for the one talking about blimps. There it is. Compare them and draw your own conclusions. Now, I will say sometimes I have to edit things out if there's a song playing in the background that I don't have rights to share because, YouTube will ding it, and I have two options. I can either edit out the song or completely get rid of the audio and add my own audio, which I've done in his videos before. But I'm not editing out his point on purpose, if at all. Trust me, I want there to be as much comedy in this video as possible. Then to really drive home the wrong assumption that fuel tanks on rockets are really balloons, he says this: NASA is the #1 consumer of helium in the world. What he didn't say is why NASA uses so much helium. But of course he didn't. Why would he give the explanation behind his comment when he can just say it and act like it means something? So once again, let's head over to his link and see what it says, and see if it says anything about why NASA uses so much helium. This link takes us to Science News, talking about NASA placing a $56.5 million order for a 5-year helium supply. The first couple paragraphs talk about the 5 companies that they get it from and how much they get, which is 12.5 million liters of liquid helium and roughly 6 million cubic meters of gaseous helium. But the third one is the interesting one. It says NASA uses helium as a cryogenic agent for cooling various materials in precision welding applications, lab use, as an inert purge gas for hydrogen systems, and as a pressurizing agent for the space shuttle's ground and flight fluid systems. So did you read this article, Arkham? Or did you just find it on the interwebs and link to it to utterly destroy me in the comments? Maybe you should have read it, man. It might have saved you some public embarrassment. Now he switches gears here a little bit and says, Flat Earth with a dome in an old Encyclopedia Americana. Ah yes, the excerpt of the Encyclopedia Americana where they say they saw a dome on Antarctica. The only problem with this, Arkham, is that when you use the word dome, you're talking about a big magical snow globe that some god put there to cordon off the Earth from whatever is outside. But when geologists use the same word, it means something quite different. Let's take a look at the definition of the word as geologists use it. Dome, in geology, any large or elliptical structure formed by a fractureless upwarping of rock strata. It is a type of anticline that lacks clear-cut elongation and that slopes outward in all directions from the highest point. Huh. Not a big glass bubble. What do you think, Jism?
Interesting.
I know, right? Then he had a couple comments that were less amusing and then had this to say. Give us proof of a ball Earth. Give us proof of Earth spinning. How can our pressurized atmosphere exist next to a vacuum of space? No scientists have proven the Earth spins, not even Einstein, and gravity is a theory. Don't mislead your subscribers. The burden of proof is in you. Since Arkham doesn't care about facts anyway, I'll go really quickly over this. Here is a picture of the Earth from space. If you want proof of the Earth spinning, ask Bob from Globebusters.
But what we found is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift.
How can our pressurized atmosphere exist next to the vacuum of space? It doesn't. There's a gradient. It doesn't go 14.7 psi and then bam, right next to the vacuum of space. No scientist has ever proved Earth spins, not even Einstein. Ask Bob from Globebusters.
We were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift. Obviously, we were taken aback by that. Wow, that's kind of a problem, right?
Yeah, you could say that. Gravity is a theory. That's correct. But a scientific theory and a non-scientific theory are two totally different things, much like dome in Antarctica. A scientific theory is based on careful examination of facts. You know, evidence and stuff.
Interesting.
And last, but certainly not least, water always finds its level. Gravity is a theory. Again with the gravity. If gravity can hold trillions of tons of seawater down, how can birds fly? Water always remains level. Well, like I said in my reply, water doesn't find anything. It's water. It conforms to whatever container it's in. And if the container is an earth, it's going to conform to the shape of that earth, which is a sphere. If gravity can hold trillions of tons of seawater down, how can birds fly? Well, the strength of gravity is determined by the masses of the two objects that are being pulled together. Okay? And I'm sure you'll agree that a trillion gallons of seawater weighs a lot more than a bird. So therefore, the strength of gravity's pull on the trillion tons of seawater is going to be exponentially higher than it is on a bird. That's why birds evolved to have hollow bones, to reduce their weight, thus reduce the force of gravity that they have to overcome with their wings. Wings that the trillion tons of seawater doesn't have. Well, I guess that'll do it for this one. If you like my content and would like to see more of it, please give the video a like, please give the channel a subscribe, and please, please come back next time. Until then, have a good day.
That was fantastic. I think it would be interesting to know what gets to you the most when dealing with flerfs and their idiot ideas.
What gets me the most? I'd say the thing that gets me the most frustrated is when you're trying to have a conversation with the flat earther and you're just shredding their flimsy fantasyland nonsense to shreds. And they just resort back to the same old tired nonsense, the same buzzwords that they all love to use, like presuppose and gravity isn't a force and second law of thermodynamics, which they don't understand. They don't understand any of this stuff. They just repeat it because that's what they've learned to repeat. And they've heard Nathan Oakley and all these other idiots say it, so they're like, "Oh, well, I'll just use that word over and over and over and over and over again." So I'd say the thing that gets me the most frustrated is just their unwillingness to actually learn. None of us know everything. I don't know everything. Really, really, really far from that. But if somebody who knows something is telling me something, I listen. And, it's not always the easiest thing to admit that you're wrong and that somebody knows something that you don't. But, that's the thing with the conspiratorial mindset. They love to think they've figured it all out. They're on to the trail of the Illuminati or the interdimensional shape-shifting lizards or Satan or whatever it is. Whoever's perpetuating this lie, they've got them. They've got their number and they've figured it all out. And so when you start to tear down those flimsy walls, they don't listen. And and at the same time, they say they're seeking the truth. But they're not seeking the truth.
I suppose those sentiments are shared by many of us, and we all look forward to more great content from your channel. Well, that's about all the time we have. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here, and it was fun getting to know more about you and your awesome channel. Is there anything you would like to share with our viewers before we close out?
Hey man, I just want to thank you again for having me on. It's been a lot of fun, and if anybody's interested in my channel, stop on by, keep coming back. We have a lot of fun, a lot of comments, a lot of discussion, and we've got some big plans this year. And once I hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to do a live stream, and everybody involved is going to get a chance to win a prize. And it hasn't been announced yet, but it's going to be fun. And we're going to mess around with one of the most vile human beings on the planet. And so, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. You can find me on Facebook, Common Sense Criticism, and on Twitter, it's @CriticismSense. So hope to see you guys there.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again for being here, and I wish you luck with your channel's future growth.
Hey, man, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. So have a good night, everybody.
And that about wraps it up for this week. We hope you have enjoyed this week's edition of the Mega Mirror Special featuring Common Sense Criticism. If you haven't been to his channel yet, you really need to get over there at the end of this show. I promise you are going to love his work, so be prepared to binge. I did. But before we go, I'd like to remind you to subscribe to us here on the new iNetwork, and remember to hit the bell for notifications of new content as it is posted. Thank you for watching. Until the next time, this is Spike signing off. See ya!